Hallasz, Guszki?
Oké, én egy picit gyengén, vagy ilyen recsegősen, de
Elkezdtem.
reméljük, hogy jó lesz.
Én jól hallak most,
Ja,
igen.
na, akkor most már nekem is oké. Megpróbálom megosztani akkor.
Mhm.
Ha. Itt van. Látszik?
Látom, hogy elkezdted, de még nem látszik maga a tartalom. Mindjárt.
Tessék?
Még nem látom. Annyit látok, hogy ugye elkezdted megosztani a képernyőt, de egyelőre még a tartalom nem. Most látom.
Aha,
Na,
oké.
tedd full screenbe.
Várja, megpróbálom
És
akkor teljes képernyőre tenni.
Aha. Próbáljuk meg a léptetést.
Most teljes képernyőn van?
Még nem. Ott sem.
Tessék?
Nincs teljes képernyőben.
És nem is mozog?
Nem.
Beszarás. Megpróbálom valahogy máshogy. Hihetetlen. Azt mondja, hogy megosztás, leállítás.
Jó. Próbál meg. Okay.
És most?
Na most átment full screenbe, akkor próbáld meg a léptetést, kérlek. Most teljesen jó.
Oké, akkor azt sem tudom már, hogy kell.
Jó, akkor kérlek, hagyd megosztva, maradjon az első slide. Jó? Addig, amíg elkezded a prezentációt. Ott legyen.
Jó, várjál, csak le akarom némítani magunkat.
Jó.
Hello, dear Danubian people. Welcome to the webinar on water and sediment management. We're very happy to welcome you today. This is the second day in a row that Komor Guster, a project officer in charge of this topic, will be giving this presentation. Thank you, Gustav. My name is Mirena Vidanovic, and I will be moderating this session. So before starting, we want to remind you that you can post your questions through slido.com. Just before the starting, you could see on the screen the passcode to the Slido. However, once Gustav finishes his presentation, it will be shown on the screen once again. So please write down all the details, the passcode. So Gustav, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, and I would like to welcome also all the participants from my side. In a few seconds, I share my presentation, and so this is the Slido which those of you who were joining somewhat earlier, you could already see, and I leave it here for a second. Oops, that was really a second. Anyway, so later on you can raise your questions through the Slido. Today I'm going to talk about the specific objective in the Priority 2 greener low carbon priority of the new Danube region program, which is focusing on promoting water and sediment management. In my presentation, I'm going to tell you briefly what is transnational cooperation, what is the transnational cooperation program, what are the characteristics of the target area, the Danube region, or from water management point of view, nearly the same as of the Danube River Basin. Then I will introduce you to the briefly to the challenges identified in relation to this thematic field to be addressed by the program, and then I will present you what kind of what is the exact thematic focus of this specific objective, and I will give you some examples what type of activities you can by what type of activities one can build up a project, as well as some few words on the characteristics of transnational partnership and some words on the budgetary aspects. So, what is transnational cooperation? From an EU point of view, transnational cooperation is one of the instruments of the cohesion policy within the European territorial cooperation field that is supporting financially cooperations beyond national or even beyond cross-border level. The transnational cooperation programs are focusing on a certain broader geographical area, and within this area it tries to address common needs and challenges. There are several different macro regions and broader territories identified within the EU and even beyond the borders of EU, just like in case of the Danube region. And these programs are intended to complement the national and mainstream programs. So find solutions for challenges that have value to find solutions on a broader territorial scale and not only on national or local level. And in this respect, concerning the cooperation aspect, this program or these programs and the projects are expected to bring together policymakers, the academia and research field, together with the civil society and even with private actors. The Danube region is identified by the program developers as a region of barriers. This is the region, and this is the transnational program that has the highest number of countries, and 14 countries make up the Danube region, and accordingly this is also having the highest number of borders. But it's important to understand that the borders are also connecting elements, and at the same time, the program is not focusing on border areas or cross-border areas, but on a much broader territories. These high number of borders and many different countries somehow result highly fragmented political and administrative status in the area. And from a more general perspective, the Danube region is heterogeneous and diverse in terms of natural environment, socioeconomic, and from cultural aspect. The EU measures, the EU funding sources that can be used within the Danube region based on cohesion policy and accession and neighborhood policies provide such a opportunity that can help this Danube space to improve and strengthen the integration of EU countries with the accession and the neighborhood countries in a single space. Today, as I already mentioned, I'm talking about a funding opportunity that is related to sustainable integrated transnational water and sediment management in the Danube River Basin in order to ensure good quality and quantity of waters and sediment balance. So let's see briefly what are the key challenges in this thematic field. As I already mentioned, the Danube region is basically nearly matching the water system of the Danube River Basin, and considering the many different countries and the many borders, the major rivers of the Danube River Basin or the Danube River itself are crossing several borders, and the moving water results that whatever challenge is raised in one country, then it's most probably there are certain issues that for sure might affect can affect downstream countries. Therefore, water management and the river-related issues are one of those thematic fields where the need for transnational cooperation is quite obvious. The program is focusing on water and this thematic field and this specific objective is focusing on water quantity, quality, and sediment balance on transboundary river basins or rivers, including surface and underground water bodies. This issue I would like to highlight since the program is financing such projects where it is demonstrated that cooperation is needed beyond borders, beyond the national level. And that's the reason why the focus areas are transboundary rivers, major transboundary rivers or river basins. In local or cross-border water bodies, issues related to these can be addressed within the borders of the countries or maybe on a cross-border level. But bigger rivers and bigger water bodies need cooperation on a higher level. Among the pressures in this thematic field, there is the contamination and water pollution regarding hazardous substances or emerging substances, considering also the aspect of agriculture or even the wastewater treatment. So on the one hand, it's about water quality. Regarding the quantity, the increased water use and the decreasing groundwater levels and shrinking supplies is another challenge of the region. And considering the impacts of the climate change, the periods of low water in the transnational river systems are also increasing and forecasted to be increasing in the future further. And in connection to the river systems, another important aspect is the sediment. And it is identified in one of the projects of the National Program that indeed sediment balance is a key issue regarding transnational water management. And as I already mentioned, all these make necessary that such impacts affect not only a single countries, but they go beyond borders. So cooperation among and between the upstream and downstream countries are necessary to be able to sufficiently address these challenges. The focus of the specific objective is related to prevention and mitigation of water pollution or restoration of good quality of transnational water bodies. Another focus area is to harmonize management practices between key sectors like the water management, agriculture, environmental field, transport, navigation, or hydropower generation, hydropower plants. And in order to improve the quality and the quantity of water, but at the same time, the sediment management is also an important aspect here. And transnational coordination of water supply management in relation, including also the basin-wide importance of groundwater bodies, is another focus area. What is supported in the framework of the specific objective? This specific objective, from a bit more general perspective, to better understand what type of activities the program is financing. For example, to improve policies and institutional capacities, like integrated strategies, action plans, or policy and sectoral dialogues, or trainings to improve and build capacities of key actors and institutions. Harmonizing management processes between certain sectors or key actors beyond borders along a certain river or within a certain transboundary transnational river basin, or elaborating and pilot testing joint solutions that can contribute to the improving the water quality or quantity. For example, joint monitoring or forecasting tools or databases. But these are just certain examples. So more or less, these are the type of activities that can be financed through the program and what a project shall build upon. For a good project, of course, a reasonable mix of such activities are needed, and it's very important that a project shall have a clear thematic focus. So a project shall make clear why the selected specific objective of the project is to be addressed by. It is expected that a certain challenge is approached by in a territorially integrated way and in a cross-sectoral approach. And it's also important to take into consideration the potential negative effects of climate change. This, of course, can be relevant in consideration of this can strongly affect water quality as well as quantity. So that's why it's important to take into consideration these aspects as well. Excuse me. Regarding the type of activities, I'll give you some examples that are fitting these specific objective. For example, harmonized data availability, monitoring and modeling system for transnational water management, improving capacities to prevent or mitigate water pollution and restore good quality of water, improving the sediment balance and related morphodynamics, and then potentials of floodplain reconnection in this specific objective that it fits if this is related to improving water quality. Or, for example, monitoring, modeling of transboundary groundwater systems and measures ensuring balanced use of water in connection to the future climate change impacts, and measures in connection to climate change in low water periods on transnational rivers or river basins of the Danube River. This can, of course, these low water periods affect many different sectors along the rivers and within the river basins. So this also would need a good mix of an integrated approach with a good mix of partners. It's also helpful, I'm sure, besides of presenting what is supported or what type of activities can be supported in the program framework, also to understand what would not fit. Obviously, one general point is that if a proposal is not able to demonstrate the need for cooperation on a transnational level, then such a proposal is not going to be supported by the program. I already highlighted that within this specific objective, the geographic focus is on the main transboundary rivers or river basins, be it the old Danube River Basin or one of the major sub river basins. Another, and this is a quite general feature of the program, that it is not financing projects which are predominantly focusing on infrastructure. Some of the previous slides are presented what are the characteristics of activities that the program can finance, while there is no sufficient budget, and also from a transnational point of view, infrastructure financing is not in the scope of the program. It is also not supported if a project is predominantly focusing on technical solution development. in case that solution, that tool is development stops or the project stops with the development of this solution, and it does not go take the next steps to ensure that the elaborated and developed tool is also applied by the target users. That's what makes the difference. So there is possibility to elaborate joint or harmonized tools and solutions, but only in case the project can also ensure that the elaborated solution is applied by the target group. It's also not supported if a project is predominantly focusing on research or data collection simply, but only in case the outcomes of these researches or databases are translated into applied solutions or policy strategies or plans or whatever. So the outcome of these activities are further utilized for more concrete outputs and results within the project. From thematical point of view, since the specific objective is focusing partly on water quality and pollution issues, I would like to highlight that regarding the accidental pollution issues, emergency response to accidental pollutions of main transboundary rivers is a topic that is not addressed by this specific objective, excuse me, but proposals on this field shall address the specific objective 2.2, which is dealing with climate change adaptation and environmental risk management. Another thematic kind of restriction is related to reconnection of and restoration of floodplains. Such proposals focusing on this can fit this specific objective if it is related to improving water quality. But in case the main focus is more on flood protection aspects, then such a proposal would fit better the specific objective 2.2 as an environmental risk, or if this floodplain reconnection has more an ecological focus or more biodiversity related issue, then such a proposal shall address specific objective 2.2. About that objective, I will have a presentation, a webinar tomorrow. This is about the specific objective itself. And now I would like to talk about some more general aspects, like, for example, a partnership. How to build a good transnational partnership. One of the criteria of application, a minimum requirement, is that a partnership shall consist of 3 financing partners from 3 Danube region program countries, and one of these shall come from an EU member state. But I would like to emphasize that this is just a minimum requirement. On the other hand, I can ensure that a proposal built up and the project partnership built up from 3 partners from 3 countries would not, most probably not, be selected for support, since considering that in a transnational program, one of the expectations is that the projects have a relatively good and as big as possible territorial impact within the Danube region. And considering the 14 country based program area, if a proposal and a project cooperates within only 3 countries, then the related impact would be rather limited from this perspective. So when thinking about building a proper partnership, please start it with considering the actual territorial and thematic challenge that you intend to address within the Danube region. Think over what are those territories of the program area that are affected by this challenge or where the specific need is relevant, and try to collect partners and build a partnership joining partners from all those countries, or at least as many as possible countries. Regarding the number of partners, one usual question is that what is the maximum number, or how many partners shall there be, and so on. It's very much depending on project and it's very different from project to project, since once again this depends very much on what the project is dealing with. It might be that, and then a bit going back to the number of countries, to give an example, and from water management point of view, that might be a quite clear case. So if a project is focusing on, let's say, the Mura-Drava river basin, then it is expected that the partners are coming from the countries of this river basin area, but then not expected to have, I don't know, partners from Slovakia or Romania, which is not part of that area. On the other hand, if a project intends to address an issue along the Danube River, then it is expected to have partners from the Danube River countries, riparian countries. And regarding the number of partners, what is important that each partner has to have a relevance within the partnership that can ensure the thematic and territorial relevance as well as appropriate competence in this, both from thematic or a geographical point or territorial point of view. And at the same time, this mixture of partners shall have a good coherence and also to be in a good balance, considering the number of partners coming from the different countries, or the number of partners representing a certain thematic field, considering the integrated approach. And then it is also expected, depending of course on the thematic of the project, that a vertical mixture of partners to be ensured from national level or regional or local level, to include partners if relevant, and that makes sense, to ensure impacts on all these different levels. Another important feature of the new program, although in general one key aspect of the Danube program is that the ongoing or the phasing at Danube Transnational Program as well was putting emphasis on integrating non-EU member states, but this became even more important is becoming more important in the new program, the Danube Region program. And involvement and integration of non-EU partners from non-EU countries is going to be an evaluation criteria, and it's important that you involve in your project partners from these countries. And from territorial point of view, if we consider those major river basins that are in the focus of this specific objective, if you think it over, there is not such a river, transnational river or river basin, which would not cover at least one or even more non-EU countries. Another new feature of the program is that the different funding sources of the EU member states, the ERDF or the accession countries, the IPA, and of the neighborhood countries, the NDICI funds, will be melted in a single pot, which is called Interreg funds. And this solution will not only simplify somehow the financial aspects of the program, but at the same time, this will give also an opportunity for equal participation of non-EU partners. So there will be no differentiation of ERDF or IPA partners, but there will be only lead partner and partners. And on top of this, in the new program, not only EU member states, but also non-EU partners coming from non-EU member states, non-EU countries of the Danube region program can be lead partners. Some few words about the program and the budgetary issues. The total budget of the Danube region program is slightly more than 213 million euro. And as I just mentioned, it will be in a single pot, Interreg funds, as it will be called. But there is also a change in the budgetary field. Another aspect that the contribution, the EU contribution of the that can be provided for a project or project partners is in the new program going to be 80%. Some of those you might have participated in the Danube transnational program. There it was 85%. So this is slightly reduced, which means, of course, then that the own contribution of the project partners is increased. So 20% of project partner budget shall be ensured from own resources or from other resources. Concerning the EU contribution part and the own contribution part, I would like to highlight one issue based on experience from the Danube transnational program, since we met situations when certain partners misunderstood this budgetary allocation, what actually the own resource means. So the own resource is basically the part of the project partner budget which is not for which there will be no reimbursement from program side, because the projects are to be implemented from financial term in such way that each project partner is financing their own and paying for their own activities in full from their own budget. And then on a periodic basis, the program, following the reporting, the program is going to reimburse the EU contribution part, 80% of those expenditures that are spent and reported within a certain period. So this is an important aspect, since this means that the program is not providing any sort of advance payment. So from a partner point of view, each organization will have to pre-finance their, not pre-finance, but finance their own project-related expenditures. And at a later stage, they will receive reimbursement of 80% of these costs. And that's why it's very important that project partners, potential project partners, shall be aware of this feature and shall have sufficient cash flow capacities in order to be able to pre-finance all their activities, considering that the contribution part comes only at a later stage. And just going back a bit to this own contribution understanding, we had some certain cases where project partners misunderstood this, and being a state financed organization, they ensured in their annual budget only the 20% of their partner budget in a given year, thinking that that's all what they will have to contribute for in financial terms to the project, and not reading properly the program rules. And that resulted that basically the project partner was not able to sufficiently cooperate in the project, since they had no financial resources enough to pre-finance actually their full costs. And being a state financed organization, they also had a problem to modify their annual budget in this respect. So that caused problems, and not only on partner level, but that was also affecting the project partnership and the implementation of the project. So that's why it's important to consider this and take seriously this aspect. Regarding the priority to this environmental priority, the total budget is 74.5 million euro roughly, but this of course is shared in between 4 different specific objectives, and one of those is related to this water management, water and sediment management. In the first call of proposals, it is foreseen to allocate 50% of the available program budget, meaning that accordingly also in the priority to budget is supposed to be allocated within the first call, but as I mentioned, in between, to be shared in between the future projects of the 4 different specific objectives of this priority. With this, I more or less get to the end of my presentation. One usual question, of course, understandably at this phase is that, and then when will be the first call launched finally? I, on purpose, did not prepare a slide on this issue, since the exact date is not yet decided. But I can tell you that the first call is going to be launched sometime in September, and it is going to be open for roughly 2 months. So the deadline for submission can be expected sometime in November this year. Another important aspect is how to plan time-wise the project proposals. What I mentioned, that's the launch of the call, but and then the approximate deadline for submission. But please consider also that the first call selection process is going to be based on a 2-step procedure. And at this stage, we expect, of course, that is very much depending on how many applications we are going to receive and how much that might extend the time of assessment and so on. You can estimate roughly that the actual project starts, so when the implementation of the selected project would start, be not any earlier than the end of 2023. So not end of this year, but end of the following year, more or less. And that's the earliest estimation. Another usual question is that, and then when can we see the application form? What are the rules? When can we see the documentation of the first call? This will be made available on the program website already towards the end of June. So not only when the first call is going to be launched, but already in June, sometime in the second half of the next month. And I would recommend you to check regularly the Danube Transnational Program website. For the moment, there is not yet a specific website for the new program. Therefore, all information in relation to the Danube region program you will be able to access through the existing program website. And already there you can find some, and most probably you've already had a look on these, some general information on the new program, the draft program document, which has been submitted to the European Commission. And as I mentioned, there you will be able to find the announcement of the call as well as the related call documentation. Beyond this source, there are also the social media resources of the program, Facebook and Twitter, where we regularly update the members about the latest news and, of course, including the upcoming call. Beside these thematic webinars that are taking place in the recent weeks, there is going to be a kickoff event of the program. And of course, once the first call is launched, then we will organize also a lead applicant seminar. In addition to this, I would strongly recommend you to contact the national contact points in your country of the Danube program. They are also very important actors in the program, and they are the one who can help you and clarify you the national aspects and national rules to be considered, including, for example, how the validation and control system is going to operate. But at the same time, they can also be helpful if you are looking for potential partners from other countries, and then they can contact other contact points of the program in the respective countries and help you hopefully finding appropriate partners. The national contact points and national authorities of the Danube region or the Danube program are also usually organizing national events, info days when the calls are launched. And then there is also an opportunity once you have your idea, project idea and partnership is getting in a major phase, to contact the MAGS for a bilateral consultation. Obviously, the responsible project officer who is dealing with the respective specific objective and thematic field to be contacted and to discuss and consult on the potentials of your proposal. Beyond the program actors, I would also recommend you that since the program is very much closely related to the Danube strategy in thematic respect, as well as the projects supported by the program are expected also to contribute to the targets of the Danube strategy. From this point of view, it can also be valuable to contact the priority area coordinators of the respective thematic field within the strategy, who can help you to drive you, direct your ideas in the respective thematic field, or maybe even help you in finding appropriate partners in other countries. With this, I really got to the end of my presentation, and on the last slide, I show you my contact details and the link to the program information on the Danube Transnational Program website. And with this, I would finish my presentation. And now it is time for questions and answers. Here, once again, you can see the link to the Slido, where you can put your questions. But I will have to stop sharing the page in order to allow us to see your comments. Questions, not comments.
So thank you, Gustav. It was so clear and so neat, and I trust that our participants got clear and rounded ideas on the topic. What should be the focus? What is finance? What won't be finance? And you gave really a lot of practical information. So thank you very much. It was really great. And if you missed something or you just want to go through, because there are a lot of things, so please check. It will be available. This session will be available also on our media. And we collected, we got some specific questions during registration. So now we will go through those questions that we collected. And in the meantime, please post your questions on slido.com. So are we ready, Gusti?
Yes,
let's
go.
So the first question, when will the call be open and what are the submission criteria?
Yeah, for the first part of the question, I think I already gave the answer.
Yes.
So this can be expected in September. And then the submission criteria. I would not like to detail this. We call it eligibility criteria more. All these details you will be able to learn from the whole documents, which will be available, as I said already, sometime towards the second half of June.
And what is the suggestion for building a successful partnership in this program? You also gave.
I tried to already build in the answer to this question in my presentation. So the key issue that the starting point shall be the challenge and the thematic challenge to be addressed, understanding what is the geographical territorial focus of the area, and considering the challenge itself, which are the thematic fields, sectors that are relevant in this respect, which are those countries from where you will need the key actors for this, and then try to find the relevant actors with good experience, sufficient experience, and thematic and territorial relevance and capacity, and build the partnership accordingly in a balanced way. And of course, it's also important that while from program level there is no limit on the size of the partnership, nonetheless, you should also be aware of your capacities. What is the partnership size that you can still sufficiently manage, and don't go beyond a number that might cause more troubles and might hinder at some point the implementation. Maybe I would mention one additional aspect of partnership, which I did not do during my presentation, that besides of the project partners or the financing partners, there can be also another type of partners connected to the partnership, so-called associated strategic partners. These partners don't have any financial resources from the project, but they can their participation at project events can be ensured so that one of the financing partners of the project partnership is supporting financially the participation of these associated strategic partners, paying their travel and accommodation costs, but nothing else. So neither expertise costs nor paying any other cost, but only travel and accommodation. This can be relevant if you would like, and it's important to have actors like, for example, an important ministry to take on board to ensure the policy level within the partnership, but at the same time, it understandably a ministry might not be taking part on a daily basis in the project implementation, but just to be connected directly to the issue, it is sufficient that they are following the project implementation and participating at the events. And this is the way to ensure such issue.
Thank you very much. In the meantime, we're getting some comments. Participants are reporting that there are problems with the sound. So I do hope that, that it will be solved. We're doing our best. This is live. So yes, I hope that now we can, it will be solved. So thank you very much for letting us know about this little technical problem that we have. So the next question is how to find project partners. Gustav, you partially replied to this answer. So now we're working on making the platform. We do hope that it will be done as soon as possible. It will be widely promoted on our media, so please follow us. In the meantime, as Gustav said, you may contact your national contact points, and they can get in touch with their counterparts in other partner states who might have information on the partners also interested in forming a partnership. The next question is groundwater in focus of this call?
Before answering this question, just one additional thing, although I have already mentioned this regarding the building of partnership or how to find project partners, another source might be the priority area coordinators who might be able to help you find relevant partners. So that might also be a source and a good opportunity to contact. So groundwater, yes, I think I have in my presentation I made it clear that groundwater issue is also part of the specific objective. Although please consider that here we expect more focus on those transboundary and transnationally relevant groundwater bodies. The Danube River Basin Management Plan is identifying some of these, not some, but identifying within the Danube River Basin which are the transnationally relevant groundwater bodies. So the focus is expected to be more on this. But of course, in connection to water quality or quantity issues, and in a good combination of activities.
Thank you very much. The next question is, in sediment management, the focus is on quantity or quality issues?
It is both, although in my presentation I was highlighting more the sediment balance, which is understandably that's the quantity part. But since the specific objective is focusing on improving and the tackling of the challenge of water quality, in this context, the quality of sediment is strongly affecting water quality. So from this point of view, both qualitative and quantitative aspects of sediment management is part of this specific objective. So this can be addressed.
So thank you very much. Here comes the long one. In terms of the topic of water quantity management and low water levels on the Danube River, does the aspect of river-dependent groundwater abstraction, bank filtration, fit the focus of the specific objective?
Well, one focus area and one aspect of the specific objective is to address the increasing low water period and the related challenges that is affecting many different sectors along the rivers. In this respect, water abstraction issues can be part of it. But what is also important that a proposal that is focusing on such thematic issues shall prove and demonstrate the need for transnational cooperation on this respect. So it's not only about tackling local issues here and there in relation to water abstraction and bank filtration based water abstraction, but a proposal shall demonstrate what is the common challenge, what makes it necessary that actors from different countries along these major rivers need cooperation in this field. But in general, that can fit also this specific objective.
Thank you. Will all kinds of prevention of disasters be financed by the DRP, like, for example, ice, floods, and rivers?
Yeah. I would say all kind of disasters are not, and especially not by this specific objective. So environmental risk-related issues are to be addressed in the specific objective 2.2. And in that, the example of ice flood of main transboundary rivers can potentially and theoretically fit, but it's important to consider that so in general it would fit there. And a more general comment, not only in relation to this question, but in general to all those who have in mind a project idea in relation to water management and sediment management, that please check the program website and check what kind of projects have already been implemented, what results have been achieved, what outputs are already available. There are very valuable and important projects and were implemented in the Danube region, partly in financing by the Danube Transnational Program. And of course, we are not expecting any sort of duplication of these projects. So, for example, in the ice flood of rivers, there was one project that was related to ice flood forecasting. But of course, there can be many different aspects of ice flooding. So we and not only not to duplicate this project, but another important and expected aspect of project proposals that they are building on the outcomes and existing results and the outcomes of previous projects. So to capitalize what is already existing. And this relates not only to projects of the Danube program, but there are many different initiatives that have very important outcomes and results already in the region. Actually, the water management sector is in a relatively good situation regarding transnational cooperation, since there is a policy framework for this, considering the ICPDR, but also within the Danube strategy, there is also a policy level coordination. So there are many things that projects and key actors can build upon. And of course, we expect that whatever has been achieved already in this field are to be used and not to duplicate it, but to bring some added value or address some challenges that are not yet solved.
Yeah. Thank you. Will there be a possibility to buy any equipment for water quality monitoring, for example, for some new monitoring methods like DNA?
Well, in general, purchasing equipment within a project, it can be eligible in case it is proved that that equipment or different equipments are necessary for the implementation and the successful achievement of project outputs. So, but on the other hand, just like the program is not supporting initiatives that are dominated by infrastructure, that stands also for equipment. So projects with dominant part on equipment are not supported, since the resources of the program are limited, and that is more intended to put on improving cooperation, harmonization, elaborating joint solutions, since those can have much stronger impact and relevance on transnational level rather than having equipment in different countries. But of course, certain equipment, like, for example, for a monitoring, certain equipment might be necessary, but of course, that's very much depending on the project context. So in general, equipment eligible, but don't put it too dominant and prove that it's indeed necessary for the implementation of the program.
Thank you. Are work type of course eligible?
That's a rather general question, and the very general answer that it might be eligible, but again, very much depending concretely what is meant to. I mentioned that infrastructure and works are not supposed to be not supposed to dominate the projects, and at the same time, usually these kind of activities are rather pricey. So that's not much in the scope of the program. Nonetheless, there might be some type of activities which might make sense on a transnational level, and which can have transnational impact on a limited scale, that might fit. But please don't build a project on an infrastructure and investment. That shall not be the core part of a project, rather an additional element, or maybe a pilot activity testing or demonstrating some sort of issue for which certain works type of activities might be needed. But this is very much depending, once again, on the exact project context.
Thank you very much. We finished with this block of questions. So let's move to the questions we got through Slido. Dear organizers, would it be possible to get a presentation now, before or during the webinar, so that we can make better notes? This session will be available today on our website, so please check it, and there will be also presentation included. So yes, it will be available today. So please check for it. The next question, are river restoration measures also considered as pilot testing in this call?
As I mentioned, river restoration might fit this specific objective in case it is contributing to improving water quality. Other aspects of restoration, floodplain and river restoration. On the other hand, I just highlighted that investment things are not really expected to be part of the projects or not to dominate, and that shall prove on a limited pilot testing case it might fit, but very much depending again on the scale of costs on the one hand, as well as and especially how much such a sort of restoration measure can prove transnational relevance. So one shall be very careful for this, and I strongly recommend, in case your proposal is get into a more advanced stage, to consult us directly, contact us directly, and then we can discuss the concrete details, because on this general scale that is quite difficult to give a concrete answer.
Thank you. Do you plan to have a matching platform or any online tool to be able to contact with other potential partners, promoting project ideas, and so on? Yes, as said, this is the top priority, so we are working really hard on it, and we do hope that it will be available as soon as possible. The aspect related to national co-financing rules will be the same like in previous DTP.
The co-financing rules are depending on national approaches and national rules. These are not finalized, or just like the program is not approved. I don't know, I'm not fully aware how that is evolving on national level. Nonetheless, I would recommend you and all your potential partners to contact their national contact points of the program, who can have more concrete and clear information on this. There might be changes, but the details are always on national level, and at the moment I'm not aware of these details.
How to be a partner, or how leader partner can find us like partners?
Well, the colleague Mariana has already mentioned that hopefully soon we will be able to provide you this platform. At the same time, you might contact your national contact point. Maybe that can be a solution, to contact your national contact point and inform them that you are interested to be involved in a partnership in a whatever thematic field or in what topic, and then the contact point can spread this information among other national contact points of the program, and this might be helpful. But hopefully that platform will be available, which will ease much better this situation. Once again, I mentioned another potential source can be the priority area coordinator of these respective thematic field. Priority area coordinator, priority area 4, who might be able to help you finding links to potential projects or potential project ideas.
Thank you, Bozo. So as you said, we do hope that this matchmaking platform will be available as soon as possible. It will ease the work of all of us. But in the meantime, also get in touch with the national contact points and, as Gustav said, the priority area coordinator. So next question was 13% from national authority plus 2% own contribution. Now will be 80% DTP co-financing. The rest will be 18% from NA plus 2% own contribution.
Based on these figures, I assume that the question is coming from Romania. So please contact the national contact point of Romania for the Danube program. And I don't know whether the details for the new program co-financing has already been elaborated or not, but they will be able to tell you what are the details or what or when the new rules are going to be set up.
Thank you. Can we do construction of the sewage treatment systems?
Yeah, the short answer, not, unfortunately not. That's a real investment, a big investment. It's a local issue. Although, of course, sewage treatment systems can have strong impact on transnational rivers, but the characteristic of the program is not allowing to finance such big investments because simply there is no sufficient funding for that.
Thank you. A transboundary aquifer might not yet be recognized as an important transboundary groundwater body. Such transboundary aquifers cannot be considered within this topic.
As I mentioned, mainly the focus is on those groundwater bodies that are identified as transboundary and transnationally relevant ones. There might be others also, but please consider that here the approach, since these single transboundary groundwater sources, groundwater bodies, they are related mainly to two or three countries, but still we expect cooperations on a broader territorial scale. So this might, talking about groundwater bodies, it is worth broadening somehow the cooperation and try to find such challenges that can be relevant not only in one but more groundwater bodies, and that make necessary and valuable to have joint solutions or harmonized solutions on a broader territorial scale. I would not exclude, I don't know what, one has to prove what is the transnational relevance of that area, the targeted territory, and what makes necessary a transnational cooperation. And if that might fit, then I would not exclude even that unknown transboundary aquifer, which you are referring to in general.
So thank you very much. It seems that we don't have any questions more, that you replied to everything. So thank you very much. Thank you for being today with us. Thank you for following attentively. I do believe that Gustav answered to all your questions. And now I want to wish you a lot of luck and a lot of good work. So waiting for your applications. Gustav?
Thank you for your attention. I hope you gained many valuable information. And as I mentioned, if you still have questions, there are different sources where you can find hopefully those. And if not, then there are the national contact points, or there is the MAJS whom you can contact. And hopefully we will be able soon to make available the call documentation, and based on that you will be able to learn much more details. One aspect I forgot to tell about the call, that and for those who were already active in the Danube Transnational program, this will be not surprising, that the application will have to be made on an online tool, which is not yet accessible. It will be only in the autumn, obviously. So it will not be a paper-based, or it is not to be submitted by email or through the program website, but this shall be prepared in an online tool. So also please be prepared for that. But in the call documentation, we will provide a sort of template for the application, based on which you will have an understanding what sort of fields and questions are there to be answered, and then you can start preparing those, even if the actual platform will only be available once the call is open.
And may I only add the last thing? So please check also through projects on our website. There you may get many ideas on the partnership and what was done in the previous period, what were the outcomes. So yes, this is also one of very valuable sources to be checked.
Okay, then thank you very much once again for your interest and participation, and we wish you all the best for the day and for the upcoming weeks.
See you soon. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.